Good morning. We are coming up just 2 days left until Thanksgiving. Can you believe fast approaching? A lot of folks hitting the roads today, taking to the skies as well. One of the busiest travel days, as you're going to hear in just a moment. You found us here on the weather desk. I'm meteorologist Craig Moeller. I'm a meteorologist here at 13 News Now in our typical broadcast area, serving Southeast Virginia and Northeast North Carolina. If you're from outside of Hampton Roads, you might be going, okay, so give me some cities here. Well, Norfolk, Virginia Beach, down into North Carolina and the Outer Banks, Chesapeake, Suffolk. We've got 7 cities, Hampton, Newport News, Colonial Williamsburg, these areas up along the eastern shore, and again, Northeast North Carolina, all part of the area, really a great part of the country, and we're happy to do it. But here on the weather desk, we don't just talk about the local weather right here in Hampton Roads. We will get into it. I've got the full extended forecast coming up if you are tuning in from the Hampton Roads area. But if you're watching from outside, maybe you found us on YouTube. We're so glad you're with us. If you're watching from somewhere else around the world or another part of the country, on the weather desk, each and every day at 9 a.m. Eastern, we tackle today's top weather headlines. And we do have some international stories to get to. First of all, we're going to focus on this big storm system that is impacting so much holiday travel. So we'll talk about where the centers of low pressure are located. We've got some fronts associated with these areas of low pressure, and they are triggering some pretty powerful storms in some areas. I'll update you on that. We'll give you the severe weather outlook a little bit later on as well. We're going to take a look at some really dramatic video out of the Houston area in Texas, where there was tornado damage from twisters that hit yesterday. So we'll get you updated on that. As we take a look, we're going to turn our attentions overseas once again. Some more countries dealing with extensive flooding. One place seeing a 300-year flood. We'll show you that coming up. And we've got more volcanic eruptions, a couple of volcanoes that we're going to talk about. That'll be coming up in just a bit. Now, as we take a look, we also have some good news in terms of the ozone layer. This was a really big deal back in the 80s and the 90s as we studied the ozone. The hole was getting bigger and bigger, and we were worried about that ozone not being there to protect us. And some steps were taken to protect the ozone, and sure enough, the ozone has started to replenish itself, and that ozone hole has been shrinking for a while. We'll talk about where it is now and where scientists studying it believe it is going to become whole again. And again, this is great news as we move forward. I also will have, of course, the Thanksgiving outlook and the travel forecast for different parts of the country. We'll show you what's happening today, tomorrow, and through the upcoming weekend. So that's a lot to cover with this morning's weather desk, and those are the headlines. All right, so you take a look nationally and you can see a lot of action here going on. Some huge storms. Those were those storms that erupted around the Houston area. And again, the tornadic damage we'll show you in a moment. All of this storminess working to the east. We've got some big storms rolling through Mississippi and Alabama this morning, pushing through the Atlanta metro early this morning. A lot of rain. Then you're looking at snow across the northern tier. This is a really busy time. The Thanksgiving travel period is officially underway. AAA estimates 82 million Americans will hit the road or hop on a flight between now and December 1st. And while today is expected to be the busiest day for airports, severe weather could impact your travel plans. Here's ABC's Sophie Flay.
A powerful line of storms slamming parts of the South amid the busiest Thanksgiving travel season in 15 years. Multiple reports of tornadoes touching down north of Houston. The storm leaving a path of destruction. Aerial footage showing extensive damage to more than 100 homes. Roofs blown off, debris scattered across yards. High winds toppling trees and breaking windows.
The wind was unbelievable. It was so forceful, it was like fighting 50 men. Until I finally got the door shut.
Today, more strong storms threatening the South from Mississippi to Georgia as rain moves into the Northeast, weather that could cause delays on what's expected to be the busiest day for air travel. The FAA projecting a spike in flights with more than 52,000 scheduled today alone. Officials say they're prepared with air traffic control staffing as airports rebound from the government shutdown.
This week is our Super Bowl. And I'm here to tell you we've got a great plan. We're past the lapse, controllers are back at work.
But even with agencies prepared, airlines are grappling with a different challenge: passenger behavior. The FAA citing a 400% increase in unruly behavior on flights in recent years. Now, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy is launching a campaign to bring civility back to the skies. He's suggesting travelers dress more appropriately to encourage better behavior on planes.
I would encourage people to maybe dress a little better, which encourages us to maybe behave a little better. Let's try not to wear slippers and pajamas as we come to the airport.
Sophie Flay, ABC News, New York.
You are seeing more and more people doing that, wearing slippers, walking through the airport in pajamas. It's like, whoa. Things have changed, but again, we want everybody, no matter how you're traveling or what you're planning to do, to take it easy out there and most importantly, stay safe. You take a look at what's going on here nationally, and again, we do have the snow up across the Dakotas, North and South Dakota, and a lot of rain extending across parts of the Great Lakes region. Some heavier storms down from Tennessee across Georgia through Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana. Let me put the storm systems on here. Again, you can see 3 distinct areas of low pressure here. We've got a cold front trailing down, and out ahead of that, a warm front kind of lifting through the southeast. That's setting up the potential for strong to severe storms. And I'm going to get into the severe weather outlooks a little bit later in the show. Rain widespread across the Ohio River Valley up to the southern Great Lakes. And then this system is what's going to usher in the big cool down as we get into Thursday, Friday, and Saturday here in the Mid-Atlantic. This cold air will advance and it will come down into the region. High pressure builds in behind it, so that means more sunshine, but it is certainly going to be chilly over a good chunk of the country, especially the eastern U.S. as we get into the holiday weekend. So let's go ahead and focus on Texas, and we want to take a closer look at the tornado damage in Texas. Several people recorded a suspected twister forming in Harris County. Again, this is around the Houston metro area there, and this was yesterday afternoon. Storm left more than 100 homes damaged. Look at this drone video. It shows the extent of the destruction in Klein. You can see roofs ripped off of homes as we go to the drone video. Just amazing. Toppled trees, pools filled with debris. Matt Dougherty has a closer look at cleanup efforts and heard more from residents who rode out the storm.
As the sun began to set on Northridge Street, the pace of the cleanup intensified. Officials say this part of Precinct 4 was hit the worst by whatever blew through here at about 2 o'clock this afternoon.
He's like, it's wind. I said, run.
Javier and his son took the alert seriously and managed to safely ride out the storm.
We heard glass breaking, we heard trees falling, we heard a thud on the roof. I mean, look around. The neighborhood is full of amazing people.
Javier takes us on a tour of the damage left from the storm, strong enough to snap mature pine trees and uproot oaks.
This was a big, beautiful shade tree. Not much use for it now other than for firewood.
The storm even lifted buildings.
This residence here has a whole garage that's been picked up and moved on top of the power lines.
Assistant Chief Toby Hecker with the Precinct 4 Constable's office had to shut off the gas to a generator because of the fire starting from downed power lines. The power to the neighborhood was eventually cut off completely in order to reduce the threat of more fires.
I heard like a whistle, and the wind was just so intense. I'd never heard it like that before.
A few streets away, Catherine Franco and her daughter rode out the storm together in their home. Because she acted quickly, the pair is among the many residents able to walk away uninjured after the storm had passed.
We went straight to the laundry room where we were safe. I knew we'd be safe there.
Something to see as we hear from those survivors. Wanted to show you the view here again. Here's Houston, and again, Klein just off to the north. This cell in particular looking really ominous. So as I was taking a look, I can kind of shuttle this through. Let's go full with the graphics here. And I'm just going to kind of jog this forward a little bit. And you can see that notch there very clear around Cypress there. And again, those homes torn up, and you saw all the debris there as this moved along. There's the town of Klein. You can see right there on the map, the center of the map. So this was around 220 Eastern, 120 Central. You can see right there, right there. Okay, that's 230 and that was likely the tornadoes that came through right there over Klein. So just wanted to take you back in time and give you a look at that. They did have that rough weather. I'll scoot this back and you can see how those storms just kind of erupted and then came through and then continue to move along. Some more heavy storms there in the Houston area a little bit later into the evening as well. Now, what happened after that? All of this stuff worked eastward, and we had some really rough weather across portions of Mississippi and Louisiana. And by early this morning, see around 3:30 this morning, those heavy storms were working across the eastern portions of Mississippi and into Alabama. Notice how the lines kind of bow out there. You're getting some really strong winds associated with some of that bowing there, approaching the Birmingham area around 4:30 central, 5:30 or so eastern. And then after that, that line of intense storms and that bow reaching into the Atlanta area. There were thunderstorm warnings issued for Atlanta earlier this morning. So just wanted to start off with a look at that and keep you updated on what's been happening there. Again, we're going to focus a lot more on the travel situation coming up in just a bit. All right, right now we're going to head overseas and update you on what has been a big problem. You know, we've talked for days about several countries in Asia that have been dealing with heavy rain and flooding, from Vietnam and Thailand. We've been looking at this, and now Malaysia. So as we take a look at Malaysia, and specifically the northeast part of Malaysia, take a look at this, the aftermath there in the northeastern part of the country. That flooding forced more than 12,000 people from their homes. Nearly 86 shelters have been opened for those evacuees, and this may not be the last of it. In fact, it likely won't be the last of the flooding issues for Malaysia, as the monsoon season has just begun, and it can last until March. So that continues to be a big deal there in Malaysia. We'll watch that and keep you updated. Again, talking about Thailand, we come up here and take a look at Thailand, and they've had their issues. It's been historic, the flooding in Thailand. Right now, a once in a 300-year storm is battering the southern part of the country. We know at least 19 people have died, with many of those deaths caused by electrocution or flood-related accidents. The Thai government is now working to drain the water where they can deliver emergency supplies like water to survivors and evacuate those high-risk areas. Just terrible there. Okay, we'll turn our attention from that part of the country, specifically Thailand, down to Java. And we'll take a look at Indonesia, where it's been 1 week since Mount Semeru erupted, and we're finally getting a closer look at what was going on, the damage it left behind. Take a look. That volcano is the highest peak on Java Island, and last Wednesday, it blanketed several villages with ash. Look at that. Forced more than 10,000 people to flee their homes, and the eruptions unfolded throughout that day, leading authorities to raise the volcano's alert level to the highest possible. Fortunately, no deaths have been reported, but that wasn't the case during the volcano's last major eruption in December of 2021. 51 people died at that point, and hundreds more were burned after Mount Semeru erupted. All right, we're going to take a look now from there over to the U.S., and specifically, we're going to check in on Hawaii, because Kilauea is at it again. As we take a look at the conditions around Kilauea, you can look at this video. It's captured by the U.S. Geological Survey, and it shows volcano spewing ash and plumes of gas from the south vent. Kilauea has been erupting on and off for almost a year now, and this is now the 36th episode since just before last Christmas. Pretty wild to see all of that. All right. Well, wanted to quickly mention, while we're over in the tropics, looking at the eastern Pacific and now the Atlantic basin, no tropical expected in either area for the next 7 days. And guys, we are right now at the 25th of November, so this should get us through the rest of the hurricane season in the Atlantic, and that is certainly some great news. All right, we're going to take a short break, and we've got a couple of interesting stories. Again, more information on the ozone hole. Thankfully, this is something we can all be thankful for. That ozone hole continues to shrink. We'll have more on that. And the holiday outlook will break down the severe weather threats around the country and set you up with your travel weather as we head to the holiday weekend. Stay tuned. Welcome back. All right, we're going to update you on the ozone hole over the Arctic. Scientists at NASA and NOAA say it has shrunk in size and is now the 5th smallest since 1992. Now, ozone acts like a sunscreen. Think about that. And we said the Arctic, I meant the Antarctic. Ozone acts like a sunscreen for people here on Earth. It helps protect from some of the sun's most harmful UV rays. Researchers say, you know, this is something I've studied over the course of my career. I can tell you that in the early 2000s, the ozone hole was big compared to what was going on in the 1980s, and that our use of harmful chemicals on Earth contributed to that. Some of those chemicals were found in household products like aerosol sprays. There was freon, chlorofluorocarbons. There were a number of chemicals that were being emitted into the atmosphere, and that took a toll on the ozone. So in 1992, a landmark international agreement to phase out those chemicals took effect, and those efforts have shown promise in our recent years. So this has allowed the ozone hole to repair itself. Scientists project the ozone hole over the Antarctic will recover by the late 2060s. So let's hope it just continues to fully fill in and again continues to protect all of us here on Earth. Some good news there. All right, we are going to turn our attention now to the holiday travel. Thanksgiving just a couple days away, and we're going to take a look at this as we get into the travel forecast. You can see this is the current radar, and I want to show you where the severe weather potential is as we go forward. We are going to see, again, a chance for some pretty strong storms down across parts of the deep south. Let me put on the specific severe thunderstorm outlook, and we'll zoom in down across Mississippi into Alabama and Georgia. So one more time at the radar here so you can see where the storms are. We had some really intense storms come through Atlanta with that line that you see kind of bowing out there. That right there was really something when it came through Atlanta. A lot of gusty wind with that. Back across portions of central Alabama approaching the Birmingham area, we have this line here that we'll continue to watch as it moves. Here's a loop over the last 3 hours. You can see how that line moved through the Atlanta metro area. And now we've got some more storms really coming in to the Alabama, central portions of Alabama. And that just so happens to be where that greatest threat is for severe weather. So level 2 threat, slight risk. The marginal or level 1 threat extends all the way up into Tennessee, just south of Knoxville, down through Chattanooga. You can see again, Atlanta under the level 1 threat, same as with the case with Macon, back down towards Albany, right on the cusp there of it. But for Alabama, it's that level 2 threat from Anniston down through Birmingham, just south of Birmingham, down through Montgomery and areas down to the southwest, all the way down through Hattiesburg, Mississippi. So we're going to be watching this area in particular. Now, you might be wondering, what are the threats? Well, you would imagine gusty winds. As I just mentioned, we had that bowing take place with that line moving through Atlanta. So they've already been seeing some really powerful winds. But the wind projection, the potential for severe weather, pretty much anywhere that you see in that outlooked area. That's one of the threats. Hail, yeah, that's an issue potentially as well. You can see the hail outlook, just a slightly elevated risk. But here's what I want you to see. It's the tornadic threat that really has our attention. And again, we do have this kind of second level of elevated threat here across central portions of Alabama and back down into eastern central portions of Mississippi. And earlier there was a tornado warning with a cell. It was radar indicated, but again, we were looking at that earlier, and now the line we will continue to monitor to see if we get additional areas with that intense storm development. All right, we're going to take a look at the radar again, and I want to show you some of the other areas where it's not severe, but we are looking at just some intense rain right now across the eastern portions of Tennessee, Knoxville, about to see some really intense rain there. Let me loop this again for you so you can see how it's bearing down on Knoxville. Areas just off to the north of that. Once you get up a little farther north into Kentucky, you can see south of Lexington, some showers there. Louisville, been seeing some wet weather. This is going to fill in over eastern portions of Kentucky, a lot of the hill country, and the mountains there seeing some rain. Into West Virginia, widespread rain right now across Ohio. Some of the big cities, Cincinnati into Columbus up through Cleveland, all dealing with rain right now. Indiana, it's been wet across Indianapolis. Detroit seeing soaking rains, and we've got more rain extending out towards Kalamazoo and even up through the northern sections of Michigan. You head up towards Traverse City and you see some of the wet weather reaching that area. Pittsburgh's in the wet weather, and you've got the rain extending back across central portions of Pennsylvania. Just some light showers approaching the D.C. area, and still Hampton Roads here is pretty dry. Now, as we take a look at the futurecast here and get into the travel weather, you'll see the wet weather continuing to spread eastward this afternoon. More rain across Pennsylvania up into New York. Rain extending down through Alabama and Mississippi. Some of those cells potentially strong or severe as they move along. This line gets better organized later this evening, and this is where we will again have to watch out for the severe storms and the potential for some tornadic development. Alabama into Georgia later on. South Carolina into western portions of North Carolina, some intense rain there. Look at how much quieter it is behind this system. And remember, it is much colder on the backside. That cold air is going to sweep in as we get into Thursday. Also, some unsettled weather if you're traveling through the northwest U.S. Snow across Idaho, western Montana, portions of Oregon and Washington state. Things very quiet along the south and the southwest. So if you're in this part of the country, you're in great shape. That's through Wednesday evening. As we get into early Thursday, the wet weather clears. We're going to see skies clearing. Beautiful Thanksgiving weather here in the mid-Atlantic. Things looking pretty good across the southern U.S. and out to the southwest. Still unsettled in the northwest, and still some lake effect snow coming off the Great Lakes for the northeast. All right, let's take a look at the travel forecast and our travel cities for Wednesday. So this is for tomorrow. Raleigh, 73, a big warm up there, a surge of warmer air, chance for a few showers. New York may be a little wet as well. This is for Wednesday. Boston, Cleveland, all with rain chances, drier down to the south, Atlanta through New Orleans. Maybe a little bit of snow up across parts of Wisconsin, but Chicago looking good. Minneapolis, chilly and windy. We're going to see temperatures in the mid-40s for St. Louis, mid-50s, Little Rock to Dallas, and upper 60s down around Houston. Out west, again, things looking pretty good through the middle part of the day for much of the western and southwest U.S. Some snow for Billings and some wind up around Seattle. We'll get into the travel forecast for Thanksgiving. Here you go. Turkey Day. Temperatures in the mid-50s for Raleigh. We're going to see low 50s here in Hampton Roads. A lot of sunshine for New Orleans. Orlando looking pretty good. Cleveland, still some lake effect snow. Look at how quiet it is across the central U.S. Beautiful weather there. Still chilly for Minneapolis, Omaha, and Chicago. Denver looking great for Thanksgiving, mostly sunny, 52. Salt Lake City, great as well. A little bit of fog maybe around San Francisco, but still unsettled for the northwest. Seattle seeing some more rain chances. Here in Hampton Roads, our temperatures will top out low 50s, mostly sunny. It will be cool but nice. Normal high this time of year, 59 across Hampton Roads. We're enjoying the sunshine, but we will see clouds increasing a little bit later on. That's the Thompson Creek Window Company. Skyview, looking at the Elizabeth River. Really, the winds are pretty light out there, south-southeast at 7 miles per hour. As we go through the afternoon, we do have a potential for the small craft advisory. It is anticipated later this afternoon with winds gusting up to about 20 knots on the bay. So a little choppy for small craft there on the bay. For the ocean waters, similar conditions, the sea's running about 2 to 3 feet. High tide coming today just after noon for Hampton Roads. Temperatures today will top out around 67, 68 degrees. You're going to see clouds on the increase a little bit later on. Dry for most of the day, but eventually some of these showers will push into the western parts of the area. So we're certainly going to be watching for that. That'll work through the region. So look for the clouds to increase and then eventually the chances for isolated to maybe some scattered wet weather, especially over the western parts of the area. We've been dry so far this morning, but that may change up late afternoon. See how the clouds increase as we go through the middle part of the day. And then by afternoon, the showers start to push in to the western areas. Few stray showers overnight, mainly off to the north. We might see a couple passing showers. And then as we get into the day tomorrow, more widespread rain early, but a lot of this stays out west, kind of moves off to the northeast there with just some isolated to scattered showers kind of working through the metro area and down across northeast North Carolina later on Wednesday, or I should say later in the morning on Wednesday. Once that rain is out, skies are going to clear out and things look great as we get into our Thanksgiving. You'll notice the winds shifting around behind that front, and once the winds shift to the west-northwest, we are going to see the colder air sweeping in as we get into Thursday. And look at those temperatures, so much chillier Thursday night and staying cold for Black Friday. We're looking at high temperatures only in the mid-40s, and it will be chilly Friday morning. So, I know a lot of folks do all their shopping online now, but for those of you that still enjoy the hunt or the sport of getting out there for those doorbuster deals, you're going to have a chilly one Friday morning around Hampton Roads. Highs today in the upper 60s around Virginia Beach and downtown Norfolk near 69. I think 67, maybe 68 at the airport. 71 in Chesapeake, Suffolk, and Franklin. Temperatures also in the upper 60s for the peninsula. Upper 60s at Gloucester, low 60s at Matthews and along the eastern shore. Down at the southern part of the Outer Banks, we're going to find a few more clouds. Temperatures generally for Manio and Kill Hills, upper 60s to low 70s for inland parts of northeast North Carolina. Now, I mentioned we've got the changes coming up. That's for today. Tonight's low down around 60, so a very mild overnight, mostly cloudy. Some showers developing, maybe a stray storm out to the west. And then tomorrow, 72. Again, scattered showers, mainly west and in the morning. There could be a stray storm, not very likely, but it's something we'll watch for. Look for improvements coming later in the day. And then the cooler air sweeps in for Thanksgiving with temperatures near 52 on Thursday, 45 Friday, and 46 on Saturday. As we look ahead to next Sunday, temperatures start to come back up, 59 there and 60 on Monday. Better chance for isolated showers there. All right, that's a 7-day forecast for Hampton Roads. I want to thank you for spending some time with us here on the Weather Desk. We will continue to bring you these weather desks through the upcoming days, and a lot of folks will have some time off, so let your friends know if they're interested in the weather. We'll continue to keep you updated on all the big weather stories from right here on the Weather Desk. Safe travels and have a good one.